ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Good to go. All right. Yo. All right. So this is why I love art. Because I have someone asking me, how are you staying inspired? And I remember the first time they asked me, like, how are you staying inspired? I'm like, what? Are you inspired? And I'm like, yeah, I'm inspired. Like, you know, I show up every day. I do. That don't mean you inspired. That just means you show up and you know how to work. You know how to work. You know how to do your thing. But are you inspired? And I've been asked this question over and over and over again for the last 3 or 4 years. Are you remaining inspired? And I'm like, yeah, I'm remaining inspired. And then as the years progress, and I'm like, well, what do you mean? What does that look like? And when I ask that question, they say, I'm glad you asked. and then they give me an example of what remaining inspired looks like. But last month, something really dope happened, right? Apple TV. Shouts out Apple TV. Shouts out I don't know who greenlit this, the execs at Apple TV. Shout out Jamie Foxx for producing this. Shout out to every actor that was a part of this. But Apple dropped #1 on the call sheet. Oh. Yo, if you are an artist, even if you're not, this is a must see. And I'm watching, it's a 2-part documentary. There is one with African-American males who work in the entertainment industry, particularly in acting. And there's one with African-American females who work in the same space. I'm currently watching the female iteration of it. So this will just be me referencing the male iteration, just to lay that out for the listeners, right? So #1 on the call sheet, I remember when Apple first teased it, and I was like, yo, I want to watch this. And they were like, it comes out such and such. I think it was like the 26th or something. I was like, and I think I heard about it earlier. And I was like, I can't wait till the 26th. I need to see it now, but it's not out. So I had to patiently wait. So the first day it came out, I finally got a chance to watch it. And I haven't stopped watching it since.
All power and glory go to God. All greatness is from God. When a hero stumbles, well, the cowards rejoice. Nothing feels better to a coward than to watch a brave guy fall.
Welcome to By Far the Dopest version. Today we're diving into the Apple documentary, #1 on the call sheet. Now, #1 on the call sheet, like I alluded to earlier, is a dope documentary. We had Idris Elba in it. We had Kevin Hart. We got Morgan Freeman. We got Denzel Washington. The list goes on and on. Tay Diggs, fun fact, first college I went to, they used to call me Diggs. Someone was like, hey, you look like Tay Diggs. And like everyone, no one called me Joe. No one called me Joseph. They just called me Diggs. That was my name around campus, and I really appreciated that. Tay Diggs, if you're out there, let's do something. Let's do something. Come sit down with me. Come have an interview, because I think that you are actually a very interesting person. All right. Side note. Let me get back on track. Number one on the call sheet is a powerful exploration of Black actors who have reached the pinnacle in their craft. Every single one of those names, we know them in blockbuster movies or in great television shows, right? They have taken center stage in Hollywood, and that has been a space that has excluded us for so long. But it's more than a celebration. It is an interrogation. What does it mean to lead when the system still wants you in the background? Woo! So I want to start by taking us back. So I got a little breakdown, and this is based off of things that were present in number one on the call sheet. I want to start in 1915 with the birth of a nation. If you're not familiar with the birth of a nation is, please make yourself familiar with it. It is a film that has racist caricatures that glorify the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. What that did, it set harmful precedents, things that are still prejudiced towards us today, even beforehand. And this is way back in 1915. We are more than 100 years away from that, and we still face some of these same issues. And like the Klan is still around, we still see Black issues. Some of the same, nothing. A lot of things have not been solved. But pressing along during that time, since these caricatures were put in the public space and imprinted upon the public's mind in America, a lot of harmful stereotypes have been associated with us. But I want to fast forward to the 1930s and 40s. So in number one on the call sheet, they paid homage to Hattie McDaniel. Hattie McDaniel. I had a conversation earlier last month. It was about my grandfather. I said, my grandfather did what he had to do so I could do what I want to do. Once again, my grandfather was from East Texas. He's from Marshall, Texas. And I actually think I still have a lot of family in Marshall, and I have never been there. I've never been at Marshall, Texas. That's crazy. I need to go. So in Marshall, Texas, during the time that my grandfather was growing up, it was number one in the state of Texas. It was the county that had the most Black lynchings in the state. And this is where my grandfather was born and where he spent his childhood until he left for the Air Force. And I have like this deep regret because my grandfather is gone, but like asking him about his time as a child and what that was like if he knew anyone who was lynched, if he had experiences like that. All right, let's talk about it. No, seriously, that's what we do on So About That. Whether it's breaking down why nostalgia is a scam, figuring out if we're actually bad at relationships, or asking why activism has turned into a digital performance, this podcast is where culture, curiosity, and a little bit of side-eye come together. Hosted by Jordan Hora, So About That is for the thinkers, the overanalyzers, and the ones who love a good debate over brunch. We're building community, challenging beliefs, and probably exposing a few of our own contradictions along the way. It's all love, though. New episodes drop bi-weekly. Listen to So About That anywhere you get your podcasts, because if we're going to talk about it, we might as well really talk about it. Nobody does it better than the Watts Podcast Network. So I liken that to this because Hattie McDaniel, she was the first African American to win an Academy Award. But and while that is a great thing, a wonderfully great thing, not the first Black woman or the first African American, period, Hattie McDaniel, you can go and pull up a picture of it. She is the only Black person in an all-white space, and you know she wasn't safe. You know she was not safe. They were open about it. Even in the roles that she played from there on out, she was always an ad hoc or the subservient. She was not a threat. She did what she had to do so I could do what I want to do. She did what she had to do so Denzel could do what he wanted to do. She did what she had to do so Morgan Freeman could do what he wanted to. What Sidney Poitier could do what he wanted to. What Harry Belafonte could do what he wanted to. What Sammy Davis Jr. could do what he wanted to do. Hattie McDaniel, thank you. I don't think we think about that enough. And I'm not getting off track. I'm thinking about Angel Reese, the basketball player in the WNBA, who they're talking about a lockout and things like that, and because they want more money. And I'm like, it's not for you. It's for the people behind you. It's for the people behind you. And I hope you hear this. Like, your sacrifice right now is for the young lady who's being born today, who in 21, 22, 23 years is able to make that type of money because of your sacrifice and leading up to that. It reminds me of back to the early NBA times where these men had multiple jobs and were only making $50,000, $60,000 a year because it wasn't that yet. It's not for you right now. I know you want it for yourself right now, but it's for the women behind you. What are you doing for the people behind you? Let me get off that. All right. And then we had another gentleman, Step and Fetch It. I know just the name itself, the moniker itself, it was a derogatory term. Step and Fetch It. They attached that to a black male, made him a caricature. But once again, he did what he had to do so I could do what I wanted to do. So I don't have to play stereotypical roles. So we could step out of stereotypical roles. So we could stop being maids or just comedic relief. So we could start being humanized. Something that we still work for today, Wasp Productions. Humanizing black and brown bodies. In 2024. Wait, 25? What year is it?
25.
Okay, thank you.
Got a lot going on.
I do. I don't even know what year it is, y'all. In 2025. Mm-hmm. So we had people like that. I mentioned him earlier in the 1950s and 60s were stepping into Sidney Poitier. You know what I would have loved to have been there for Sidney Poitier? They described in Heat of the Night, in the theater, the scene where he was slapped by the white man and then he slapped him right back. I would have loved to have been in the theater. And it's not a racial attack or anything like that, but it was that we had been pegged so low on the totem pole that we see that immigrants that come into the country, they think other of us because of white supremacy thoughts tied to us, and they try to disassociate themselves from the black culture or the black stereotype in order to fit in with white supremacy, so they're not at the bottom of the totem pole. So it's like people that come here from other countries step on us even more because of what has been attached to us through things like Birth of a Nation. They attach laziness to it. How are we lazy? They were for 400 years. We 400 years, but we lazy. We don't know nothing. Oh, their family's not together. You ripped them apart. Like what are you talking about? You ripped them apart. Whatever other I don't want to get into that, but whatever other stereotype is attached to that. Well, what was the precursor to that? Huh? Oh, they don't have nothing. You burnt down Tulsa, Rosewood, things like that. Okay, let me chill. But I would have loved to have been in that theater when Sidney Poitier did that moment, because it was a semblance of hope that we are somebody. That's what that slap represented. I didn't have to take being spit on, beaten upon, dogs attacking us, batons, things, crosses in the yard. I don't have to take that. I'm a human. He won an Oscar, and in that he challenged the tropes. He gave black men in film dignity and strength and depth in that role. And we step into the 1970s, we have blaxploitation cinema. I was trying to watch when what's it called? It was the other day when Cotton Comes to Harlem. I was watching it. I was like, whoa, this is a lot. I ended up having to leave the house, but I was like, okay, this is a little wild. But it was the form of art that we owned and that we could make ourselves and give to ourselves, because people didn't necessarily open the door for everyone. And blaxploitation films open a lot of doors for a lot of people. That's how we get Superfly. That's how we get Shaft. And I'm not talking about just the Shaft that Samuel L. Jackson was in. I'm talking about the very first Shaft.
Richard Roundtree.
Mm-hmm. And that develops in, we have a whole generation of that. We have our own characters. So when I hear them talking about we need a black James Bond, no, we don't. Leave the story like he's an Irishman or whatever he may be. Like, it's fine. We have our own stories. You don't need to make a black 007. We got Shaft. We got Shaft. But blaxploitation cinema empowered and complicated black representation. From the 80s and 90s, we see more leading roles as Denzel Washington starts to emerge. Number one on the call show, we all know Denzel. Eddie Murphy, someone mentioned to me earlier in the month that Eddie Murphy does not get enough credit.
He doesn't.
He does. Tell me, what does credit look like for Eddie Murphy?
Oh my gosh. Credit looks like for Eddie Murphy. You got to think about it. You got Billy Ray Valentine, Axel Foley, Marcus Graham. Man, come on. I mean, you got, and he was holding his weight in the 80s.
In the 80s. As
a comedian and actor. He's fluid and singer. He's fluid. He is just, and then made multiple franchises. It wasn't just one. Mm-hmm. He made multiple franchises. Another 48 Hours wasn't just one. You know what I'm saying? Beverly Hills Cop wasn't just one. Who can do that? You know what I'm saying? And then he, Coming to America alone. Alone. He can, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Like, come on, Boomerang, all black set of professionals. You got to go back and listen to the actors that was on, the actors that we see on high levels now, like a Chris Rock. But you got to go back and listen to them talk about what it was like to be on the set of Boomerang. And everybody in front of the camera and behind the camera was predominantly black. And Eddie orchestrated that. Like, he don't get enough props to me. And then the way the story was told, it was just phenomenal. And then, we got to see a young Eddie, a young Martin Lawrence, a young Tommy, not Tommy Davidson, but David Allen Greer. Come on, like it was everything and then some. I know if I ever see him, he getting his flowers. I ain't gonna hold back. But I feel like the industry as a whole, and I think he recently did get honored. So he recently did get honored. I don't know on which Hollywood side it was, but I still feel like he deserves more. I named somebody today that's rocking like
Eddie,
like he rocked. Come on, from SNL to being a juggernaut at the movie theaters to his range alone is just, I don't know. I just feel like he deserves so much accolades.
I think I agree with that. And I like to point out "Party All the Time" is one of my favorite songs.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's one of the. It's a dope song.
That part. I mean, not only did for the music side of it, not only did he work with like Rick James, but Michael Jackson too. Come on now, it's not too many people that can say both. I'm rocked an album with Rick James, and I did a song with Michael Jackson. Eddie, that dude.
He in rare company.
Yes, he is totally.
He's in rare company. So you have Eddie Murphy, and you even have I put Whoopi Goldberg on there because Whoopi, even though I hadn't seen, I'm still watching the women's side. Whoopi Goldberg, excuse me. Let me see. Even though I haven't finished the women's version of number one on the call sheet, Whoopi Goldberg was a trendsetter. She in the documentary that she's in, she alluded to taking the roles that A-lister white women weren't taking, in like Jumpin' Jack Flash, things like that, and Ghost. Like, these are things that were written for other people that she took, and they became a staple of who she is. And I felt like she was extremely disrespected. Yeah. I just remember hearing conversations as a kid about her in just general settings, and I'm like, And I think about it now as an adult, just how much disrespect was tied to her. From right there in the 2000s and the present, we have a greater range in roles and visibility, but still inequities in access, pay, and control of the narrative. In the documentary, they speak about, and I think it was a great thing, and I got to give my flowers to Will Smith. Like, Will Smith is one of my favorites, one of my absolute favorites. I'll probably, don't be surprised if you hear me talk about him a whole lot more in every way and aspect. And the reason why I hold Will Smith in such reverence, for one, it starts for me at the song "Summertime." The song "Summertime" just provides so many great feels and vibes. But alluding along to Fresh Prince, like I've told you all, my mother sent me to live with her brother. So my uncle, when I was around 11 years old, because it was the summer of 2002, and I moved to Texas. I remember exactly where I was. I was in Addison, Texas, sitting on the couch watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And it's the episode where Will's father said, I'm going to take you with me. Then his dad dips on him. And then when Will is talking to Uncle Phil and like why he don't want me, man, as a 12-year-old, I felt that living with my uncle. I was bawling on the couch. I turned the TV off. And to this day, I don't watch that episode or that scene because one time was all it took for me to feel that. There's a couple things I don't watch. Like I saw Passion of the Christ once. I was like, okay, I'm good on that. But that scene from right there, so I want to give that to him. But in controlling the narrative, they said that and the reason I'm saying that is because they said that black films don't travel. They're not global sellers. That's not true. And Will set that off with Bad Boys, with his range of work, Independence Day, Men in Black, I Am Legend, things like that, because he was someone who controlled the narrative. And you'll get that in the documentary as you hear Jamie Foxx talk about him when he was on the set of Ali. So I want to reflect on the significance of becoming a lead, the visibility, the narrative control, and the cultural weight. That led me to some questions. What does it mean to be seen? Like, truly seen. I'm not talking about in person right now. I'm talking about on screen. I think a lot of us, we go to movies or we see things and we look at characters and we're like, oh, I can identify with that. Or I know someone who is like that. I'm gonna reference this, and I still have to do what I need to do for this, but I'm referencing, you made mention to an actress who came over from the UK and was in Moonlight. Mm-hmm. And she was playing the addicted mom. Mm-hmm. And she researched YouTube, and she said she had like 30 days to research this because her visa was only good for 30 days. And before she had to get back out, and she got the role, she had 30 days to create this person, to create this role. And she got on YouTube and did her research.
Mm-hmm. Naomi Harris.
Shout out Naomi Harris. But how many of us here in the United States have dealt with a family member who has a drug addiction, who through Naomi Harris, you were able to see your mom, your auntie, your cousin, your sister, your girlfriend, your wife, someone who had been addicted to something, or even more particular, you knew someone who during the crack epidemic who was addicted to crack, who you saw that. You were like, wow. So that's what I mean, what it means to truly be seen. I'm not saying seeing them as a crackhead, but seeing them as a whole human and their struggles. Mm-hmm. There's always a reason behind addiction. There's always a reason behind addiction. But that's what I mean why it's to be seen, to be an actor, and you're playing someone that someone else can relate to, that the world can relate to, that these things, like I say, aren't just affixed to one ethnic group, to one nationality. These things are felt by us too. And truly being seen means being humanized. Being humanized, we still live in a space where we have to humanize things. Like, these things are normal for us too. We feel these things too. We do these things also. You know what I'm saying? It's not just tied to you. It's tied to us as well. And I had to ask myself, what stereotypes have I had to confront on my creative journey? My stereotype, like I say, I like to lead with, I'm not the biggest dude, but I'm also not the smallest dude. So my stereotype has been attached to a brute. A brute. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not, yeah, okay. Or a jock. Okay, well, I think I'm fairly intelligent. That's the conversations I have with myself. Or like when I would get auditions for like the gang member smoking a blunt and talking about killing somebody. And I'm like, damn, for real? Like, y'all ain't, like, is there something, please, like, I understand that these stories need to be told because these are things, like we just talked about, truly being seen, but we've seen that. We've seen it. over and over and over and over. And that's not our only story. That's not our only path. Like, show me something else. So in my creative journey, just going through those things to where, you know, the gangster or the brute or the athlete or something like that, early on, now that I've acquired some gray hairs, I'm getting more dad stuff. So I'm like, oh, you know, this is pretty cool. I appreciate the dad stuff, but I just appreciate being an artist overall, because even though I may not like those characters, I feel like I can bring any character to life through the homework and doing things like that. But I don't want to continually be seen in that manner. And sometimes I think it's sad, even though the acting is good in some of the shows, that our highest rated shows are the ones where we kill each other and sell drugs to one another. And that just further perpetuates the stereotype. But we're telling stories of the past because those people need to be seen. And I'm trying to remain neutral right there. That led me to the question, is representation enough without systematic equity? No, it's not. It is not. Representation is just, that would be the ad hoc to systematic equity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it shouldn't just be in the vein of representation being enough. Oh, we see you. There you go. No, own it. Where's your 40 acres? Where's, and Tyler Perry, you own it. Watts Productions. Own it. Jamie Foxx has a production company. The Rock has $7. You know who I'm thankful for?
Hmm.
And I hope I'm doing Forrest Whitaker.
All right.
Do you know why I'm thankful for Forrest Whitaker?
Express.
Because I believe, and if I'm recalling, Forrest Whitaker is how Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler met.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Through a film initiative that Forrest Whitaker had for young black filmmakers. Yes. And that is how they met. So that just rung a bell in my mind. But that is what happens when you have equity.
Facts.
You have Michael B. Jordan meeting Ryan Coogler because of Forrest Whitaker's initiative to spur along young black filmmakers.
Yes.
Hey guys, finding the perfect gift for the food lover in your life is easy, thanks to Goldbelly. Goldbelly ships America's most iconic foods straight from world-famous restaurants right to your door. So if you want to treat someone to Joe's Stone Crab from Miami, Franklin Barbecue from Texas, or desserts from famous foodies like Ina Garten or Martha Stewart, Goldbelly has you covered with free shipping anywhere in the country. Just go to goldbelly.com and for a limited time, get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's promo code GIFT.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel? Or that white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
I want to shout out to Pee Wee Herman. And the reason I say this, I know y'all like, oh, yeah, Pee Wee Herman.
Come on.
Pee Wee Herman was, and you'll see this in the documentary, Pee Wee Herman was one of the first people that had a universal set, meaning he had women behind the camera. He had different people of different ethnic backgrounds. But you know who met on the set of Pee Wee's Playhouse?
Lawrence Fishburne and John Singleton. I knew that because John is one of my favorites, and it was John. Oh well, I haven't even seen the documentary yet, but I'm a huge fan of John Singleton. Mm-hmm. Anybody that knows me know that. But John Singleton was pitching basically Lawrence Fishburne while on the set of Pee Wee Herman.
Pee Wee's Playhouse. Mm-hmm. And I found that out through the documentary. Mm-hmm. So when I say equity, I'm not saying that, am I saying there should be more black equity? 100% I am saying that. Yeah. But I'm also saying the equity amongst execs who don't share the same phenotype as myself, which means your skin color, your phenotype, your phonetic type, who don't share that, but who also are pulling in others that don't look like them to create a space, because then that equity creates the connections that you meet. I always say you meet the right people along the way. And Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Coogler, and Lawrence Fishburne and John Singleton. Those are examples. Those are examples of meeting the right people along the way. So representation is not enough. You need equity as well. Now, on top of that, there's the pressure of visibility. The emotional labor of being the first or the only visible symbol. There is a lot of pressure in that. And it's how, like, I appreciate how Denzel deals with the, and I'm going to put quotes in pressure because he always passes off, I'm not in the business to be famous. I'm an actor. That's what I do. It's my best Denzel impression. I'm an actor. That's what I do. Like, I'm not, even though I'm the first and I'm a very visible symbol, he never placed himself in situations to where, how much do we really know about Denzel?
I love it. Little to nothing.
Little to nothing.
Yeah. What he wants us to know.
What he wants us to know.
Yeah.
There's no Instagram. I don't even think there's a Facebook. If there is, it's fan pages.
In fact, I think even John David, I think his page is even private. It may be open now, but yeah, I was kind of shocked by that. But I asked for a request and, he accepted it. So, but I felt like he carries his father's vibe, if that kind of makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like you got to leave something for yourself.
And I think that's a good vibe for every artist or every person to take away, because we have become so accessible and trying to make ourselves visible. So I'm thinking about the Kid Flame in the episode that he had with you when he said, we're all together, but we're alone.
Yes. Together alone, he called it.
Together alone. And I liken that to being visible. We're all together, but we're alone. These expectations can be empowering and both suffocating. And I spoke about always being on. I think that is another thing that comes back to that, because you have to live in this public eye with this persona and be on and be on and be on. So like Will Smith spoke about the psychological weight of being the first major black actor to consistently open blockbusters. He handled it with such grace during that time. But the reason he was able to do that is because he had a plan. He mapped out what he wanted to do. He alluded to in the documentary that if you didn't have the same vision or plan as him, you weren't on the team, because he had a goal. And if you couldn't operate how he was operating, then like Watt says, hey, we'll slow the train down. And we'll let you off. No harm, no foul. But we're on a train. It's the track is going. There's coal in the furnace, lots of it being shoveled in there. But he had that boundary. Because he knew exactly where he was going. Denzel Washington, he emphasized the responsibility that comes through being visible. He said, if I'm number one, then I'm also the example.
That's right.
If you're number one, you are the example. You are a leader. I'm going to get into leadership a little later. Y'all going to hear about that in the episode. Denzel, we can't talk about him enough, but he is the example. Jamie Foxx reflected on the emotional tension between arriving and still being typecast.
Wow.
And how being number one doesn't always equal control.
Facts.
That is true. Yeah, you're number one on the call sheet, but once again, that goes back to what? Not having equity. Yeah, you're number one here, but this is how we're going to do it. And this is how it goes. I don't care about anything else. You come here, you do your job, and you keep it moving. I asked myself if I had any like personal reflections on moments when the spotlight didn't equal comfort. Absolutely. Because in growth, in being a leader and having a light shined on you and everyone ask about you, you're not going to be comfortable, especially if you're used to operating a way that is tied to your personality, but you are entering a different setting. And I think a lot of us have to separate being comfortable in our personal lives and then operating in a business space. And I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to myself. I'm just revelation to myself. Like your personal life, yeah, you're like that as a person, like that's cool. But right here, it's a business, and you need to operate like this here in this space. So that's my personal reflection on that. There's a big difference on power, control, and the narrative. Like the difference of being in the story and the difference of owning the story. I feel like everything I do is tied back to Denzel almost. But the movie Malcolm X.
Oh, yeah.
Malcolm X was originally going to be, I think it was they were going to do the documentary or make the movie based off of the autobiography of Malcolm X written by Alex Haley. And there was a white director attached to it. And Eddie was telling the story because he was telling Sidney Poitier, like, you know, I'm thinking about playing Alex Haley and like Malcolm X, and that, you know, they're basing it off the documentary. And that Sidney Poitier told Eddie, you are not Denzel, you are a breath of fresh air. And I saw somebody post like that, like a little clip. And I went to the comments because I wanted to be like, because I feel like sometimes I go to the comments because I'm like, oh, you didn't read it or you didn't watch it. And I can tell by how you're commenting. And somebody was like, oh, Sidney Poitier was being a hater. I'm like, oh, you don't understand what he was saying. He was saying, Eddie, you have such a unique gift that you don't need to go do that. And that's how you get Axel Foley, 48 Hours, and Boomerang and the things that he created. That's what that is what Sidney Poitier was saying to Eddie Murphy. Not that you're not good enough to do this, but that you are a whole nother stream.
Facts. And even in mentioning the projects that he went with, I didn't even say the project name. I'm Billy Ray Valentine. He so embodied Billy Ray Valentine that you would really have to understand who Eddie Murphy is to understand, like, oh, that's Trading Places. Or he's so embodied, you know what I'm saying, Axel Foley, that, you know, I could have just led with Beverly Hills Cop. No, because he's so I get what Sidney Poitier meant. Yeah, yes, that's why I'm naming Marcus Graham. I'm giving you the names of his characters, not even the film. You know what I'm saying? Because he kind of outdid the film. In itself. Powerful, yes.
That makes sense, but and also you and I, we had been talking about what Jamie said, disappearing. So he disappeared.
Facts.
That's why you're not naming the movie, you're naming the character.
Facts.
Because the character, he disappeared. And that is a gift in itself. In naming those characters, that's the difference of being in the story and owning the story. I was talking about Eddie Murphy because I was alluding to the fact that Sidney Poitier, you know, gave him the advice. And so then later on, it got away from the Malcolm X that we have, got away from a white director, and it was Spike who picked it up with Denzel.
Correct.
And that's the difference between being in the story and owning the story. Like Denzel alluded to, said it's cultural. And I think that was such a beautiful thing that, yeah, this person could have directed it, but do they understand the culture? And when Denzel made that comment, he was like, do they know the smell of a hot comb going through hair on a Sunday morning? Do they know the different things like this? So it's cultural. And in owning the story, there's a different dignity attached to the characters. There's a different dignity attached to who is writing it. There's a different care, as opposed to if you don't own the story and someone's just writing it and putting you in it, there's not the same level of care and detail. And you could be telling someone, hey, this wouldn't really happen here. Well, hey, we're going to go with this. This is how it's written. That's what we're going to go with. But that's because you don't own the story. So there's been a plethora of Black creatives taking control behind the camera. Not only Black, we have Mexican, Latin American creatives. We have Asian American creatives. Or I'm just going to put Asian creatives overall, Mexican creatives overall. They're taking control behind the camera. They're directors, the writers, and the producers because they know their culture. They know the stories. And it doesn't mean they don't write stories for other things, but they know what is authentic. What is authentic? And that goes back to the care and having the direction. And that's why it matters who tells the story, not just who stars in it. Who's telling? You say it all the time. We're talking. So if y'all are like in the astrology, that ain't really done around here. And it was the first time I think I had ever really heard the phrase used in that direction. And you were like, what's the source? So I think that ties back to this right here. Well, who's telling the story? What is the source? So if I'm telling, like, Denzel has a story of a movie that they wanted him to audition for that he called The Nigga They Couldn't Kill.
My goodness.
And he told that story, and he shared with us the ethnic background of those who wrote the story. The source was messed up, so the story was messed up.
Facts.
Let me say that again. The source was messed up, so the story was messed up. Think about that. That doesn't just apply to film.
Say it again. The source was messed up?
The source was messed up, so the story was messed up. All right? 3 times. Look, I'm going to reframe this for like our everyday life. Where are you number one in your own life? Like, I need you to think, where you are absolutely number one. All right. Where are you number one at? I want you to go through that. I want you to sit with yourself. And if you can, when you figure out where you're number one at, sit down with a journal and a pen and really think. And if in 10 to 15 minutes you don't have a spot of where you're number one in your life, that means you're giving too much of yourself away. You're giving away too much of yourself. Pull back and take some time out. Reclaim authorship of your personal and professional narrative. Don't let these spaces follow you up, especially spaces where you're not represented at enough. We have we have the ability to conform or code switch in spaces where we're not represented in. And you have to take back your personal and professional narrative. That's another thing of not adapting or shifting to make people feel comfortable around you. Don't take your earring out. Huh? Wear your do-rag until you get to the car. I don't think do-rags are. I was raised like you don't go outside in a do-rag and things like that. But wear your do-rag up until you get out the car. Like go and do these things. And I do have different thoughts on certain things. Reclaiming your personal and professional narrative. So I had to ask myself, what spaces am I still auditioning for when I already belong? I'm auditioning in a lot of them. I don't even have time to go into that, but a lot of them. I want you to think about what spaces you're auditioning in where you already belong. What would happen if I put myself first on my own call sheet? And I feel like for me, it is a teeter-totter. It's such a balancing act of like, okay, well, I got to be number one here, but that's going to take away from this. And then in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, how's this going to make this person feel? And I'm like, dang, okay, but I got to do this. You don't see it now, you'll understand it later if you stick around. If you don't stick around, then you'll see me later, but it won't be in person. Sorry, I'm talking shit. Excuse me. I'll bleep that out.
Sometimes you got to talk shit. Sometimes.
And then how do I direct the story I'm living? Like when like I alluded to last episode, it's a choice. It's a choice. Direction is choice. What choices are you making and where are you living? All right. So the industry changes and ongoing inequity in Hollywood, we still see them. I would say we don't see it as vastly as we did in the past, but we do still see it in certain areas. That's why equity matters. That's why this moment matters. And that's why this is only the beginning, because I recognize that I'm working for the people behind me. Yes, I want to benefit my family and myself, but I'm working for the kid behind me that gets to know me and it's like, yo, you were the reason for this. The same way I talk about Will. If I ever see Will Smith, if he allows me, I'm gonna give him a hug. I don't want we don't even gotta take a picture, bruh. I'm gonna give you a hug because that scene that you did with James Avery was so powerful. I just gotta hug you. Like, I know you on a personal level. So with permission. With permission. So the final exhibit, 3 things I want you to take away. Visibility. Oh man. Visibility is powerful. In my episode, DEI does not mean black. At the top of the episode, you heard Jamie Foxx say that his perception changed because of the visibility of Barack Obama. Visibility is powerful, but authorship is transformative. Barack was the author, which transformed Jamie's perception. Being number one on the call sheet starts with knowing your worth. I think a lot of us, we don't know our self-worth. So when we step into very high seats, we see ourselves still as just a little person. And you operate in like a little space because you're trying to let people know that you're safe. Let people know that you're here for the right reason or whichever and whatnot. But operate like you're number one. And if you're not used to operating like you're number one, but you are number one, it is an uncomfortable feeling, but it's not being cocky. It's being confident. It's asserting yourself in the right way. And you can still find a way to be the wholehearted person that you are, but also be dominating in certain areas where you want to dominate. All right. read you some books on it. Like, read you some books. Coach K has a great book on leadership. I just got the audio book called 11 Rings. Shouts out to the Watts, one of the Watts favorites, Phil Jackson in the Bulls. So his book, 11 Rings, is the audio book. And then I also got the audio book by Vince Lombardi, What It Takes to Be Number One. And so I'll be diving into all of those. And at first I wasn't a proponent of audio books because I'm a tactile, like I like to feel my book, but use what you have. And if I'm riding in the car a lot, that's what I'm listening to. And lastly, in my final exhibit, the next chapter of equity is behind the camera, in the writing room, and ownership. That is the next chapter. That is what we need. All right. For those of you that are out there doing it, shout out to Watts, because they say if we make it look easy, please know that it ain't. And I'm a witness, even in doing my own thing, how uneasy this is. Imagine a company that's operating with more than 100 people, 100 different people, 100 different personalities, 100 different dreams, and flowing in the space. Why? They got a plan. They got a plan. All right. So
can I add something?
Yeah, please.
This has just been such a just a supreme episode. This has been so supreme. I just feel like it would be just if I could just add this point.
Okay.
With your permission, of course.
Permission granted.
All right. You want to meet the love of your life? Look in the mirror. And on that note.
And on that note, this has been another episode of By Far the Dopest Version. Look, I want to encourage you, like, if this episode moved you even a little bit, here's how you can return the energy to me. Rate and review. Drop a 5-star. Only if you're feeling the vibe over here, all right? Scroll down, hit write a review. I need that on Apple Podcast, all right? So if you're listening from Spotify or Pandora or Amazon, I need you to drop me a review and a 5-star on Apple as well. And you can even comment there. We check those out. Another thing, I need you to subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Every week, turn the notifications on for me, baby. All right. Hey, when you wake up in the morning and that notification drops, or actually you in the office and you see By Far the Dopest Version has dropped another episode, I hope a smile creeps over your face and you like, I can't wait till I get off. Oh, you pop on some headphones right there. All right. As long as it doesn't mess up your flow. Also share it because we want to reach more people. Comment. If you have thoughts, let me know. Let them out in the comments. We're building slowly here, but your voice matters, all right? And another thing, pull up to the site, and that site is wattsproductions.com/podcast, where you can hit email, contact me and the team directly, and trust, we do everything in our power to get back to you or to make you feel felt and seen. See, visibility, seen in this space. And last but not least, share it. Put someone onto this. Please, if this podcast made you pause, think, or anything, pass it on. I'm here for you. Once again, this is another episode of By Far the Dopest Version. And remember, you're number one on the call sheet, and you are by far the dopest version. Peace.